Let's give it a minute or two for everyone to join. Okay, I think we can start. So welcome everyone to the Roundtable Office Hour. The objective is to share your work in progress with us and having input from the Noland team. Manfred is here as well as rest of the contributors. So we want you to feel free to ask questions about Game of Realms, anything you've been working on, anything you've been thinking of working on. So in this session, we decided to go with a new format and invite a couple of our contributors who have been making very positive contribution to Governance Challenge. However, if you have prepared anything in regards to your work in progress, please do not hesitate to join the discussion. Feel free to let us know and we will make a time slot for you to share your work. Now I think I'm going to let our contributors that we have agreed to be on the stage, Andrew and Giuseppe, to introduce themselves and we can start the discussion. Andrew.
All right. AJ. All right. Hi everyone. My name is Andrew. I work as a junior product manager and researcher at OnBlock. And to share a bit about what we do here at OnBlock, we're a software development team based in Seoul, and we're committed to building a suite of tools and infrastructure for Noland. And so far, we've built Adina, a web extension wallet for Noland, and NoScan, a blockchain explorer for Noland. Anyways, back to me. I first hopped into crypto in 2017 and have joined a couple startup incubators and a product studio, and I'm currently responsible for product design, research, and content writing at OnBlock, and I think that pretty much sums up who I am and where I come from.
So I guess I'm gonna go next. So hi guys, I'm Giuseppe. I was a team member in the Ignite project, but I've been also interested in this specific governance challenge on GNOME, and I'm also, as an independent contributor, growing more interested in the project more in general due to its potential. So my background is basically, I've been working in crypto for now a couple of years, specifically in Cosmos, because I was part of All in Bits, which is actually a collaboration that appears to be ongoing. I think that says it all in terms of introduction from my end.
Makes sense. Giuseppe.
Hello.
Hi.
So maybe we want to do the round table about the other points, Andrew, and then I mean, I don't want to necessarily hijack the conversation with questions regarding the specific progress we were doing on the design that Andrew proposed, but I also thought that might be part of, us doing this. I guess though, maybe let's start with the points that I guess you were also kind of asked to touch.
I have a suggestion because maybe Jay can introduce what is vision of the need of a governance module and why it makes sense to experiment governance module during Game of Thrones on GNU, but also why it's not mandatory. It's not only for GNU. And then we can discuss with Giuseppe and Andrew, which are the main contributor in Game of Thrones on this topic.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Where do we start? Well, I guess one principle that led to that idea to use governance to help with Game of Realms is, one, we need better accountable organization management just across the board, like not only for blockchain organizations, but also for just aspects of our lives and our local governance, for a variety of reasons. Okay, but the UX isn't there. Like, I don't know the last time I heard someone using a DAO system and talk or share things about it, like as if they're sharing a Facebook or, I don't know, MySpace link for the first time. Right? It's not catching on virally. But we sure use the governance features of the Cosmos Hub and share Minscanned, right? Links to proposals, and use the forum a lot for discussion. Well, at some point, these tools, it may even be harder to have these discussions. So we should move these conversations on chain because to prevent disruptions, conversations from happening. But also, we might be fine in the case of a large-scale internet censorship attack. We are in the middle of war. Anything can happen. They might take the DNS system down. Who knows? Well, it would be nice to have provided tools for discussion and making governance decisions on chain. All right. So that's the first use case. Second is based on a principle of eating your own dog food. I guess that's how they say it in startups, right? And the idea is we know we're at a good place where if we can use our smart contracts to help scale the task of finding, tiers to add to the initial member set, right? Then we know we're at a good point and we've accomplished what we need to do in order to take this to the next level, and it proves itself. So it seems like a good asynchronous description point for where we need to go to. And also along the way, the product can also be used to help the Cosmos Hub. Right? Cosmos Hub has its own governance challenges. namely, we have a lot of categories of discussion that Cosmos Hub can benefit from if we had better UX for having discussions per category and also being able to manage a budget per category and to be able to showcase all the different teams with competing ideas in one place so that all the relevant facts about how they compare can be shown in one place in a portal. It's easy to navigate. So it would be a tool that can help us figure out whether a proposal on the Cosmos Hub is worth voting for or not, by virtue of being able to look at all the alternatives and see the greater picture, not just what's in the proposal text. And that's precisely what we need in order to figure out who we want to have in our initial member set for No Land, because there's so many categories, categories that one can contribute in, and we're only so many people developing the software. It's going to take a lot of manpower to assess the quality and value of a contribution, because it's going to be in so many different areas. And so rather than going through all the contributions ourselves and we expect there to be enough, right? More than enough, that's going to be difficult for us to consider all of them. It would be better to create a smart contract system that allows the network of worthy assessors to emerge, through the logic of the DAO itself, so that we can scale the task of rating the quality of Game of Realms contributors and contributions. So that's the basic idea. I don't know if that was too rambling. Happy to summarize it or answer any other question, or what should we do? We should get to know each other, right? So what did Andrew propose? I'm really sorry. I joined a few minutes late, and since then even more people have joined.
It's all good. So this approach that we're taking, well, we as in me and Giuseppe, is that we're trying to recreate the governance module of the Cosmos Hub to somewhat customize it to where it's aligned to the general concepts of No Land. And there are two major changes to the system that we're working on compared with the Hub's governance module. I'm not gonna get too deep into that because it's all visible in the issues. But the first is the removal of the validator set selection mechanism based on the amount of delegated staking tokens, and the second being the bicameral governance structure composed of the contributors house and the token house. And yeah, that pretty much is the outline of our work so far.
Oh, that's cool. All right. Well, here's okay. This is for Cosmos Hub, right? Right, because in the Cosmos Hub, you have the atom, but I think what we're saying is we want a bicameral house for making decisions, or at least a certain subclass of decisions for the Cosmos Hub, so that it includes not just token members, but also has to include a specific set, I suppose, right? Is this right for the Cosmos Hub?
Well, it's actually for No Land, and since this is a proposal, and I think it makes sense for me to kind of share a little bit more in detail with you guys in the call, since I'm guessing most of you guys haven't through the proposal yet. So So the system is for no land, and this first house is called the Contributors House, and obviously it's composed of 4 contributors whom we can expect to be accountable and genuine, and these guys are going to be casting legitimate votes that they be believing to be beneficial to the system, right? And but the problem with this is that there needs to be another system that excuse me if I'm rambling, but right, 1 second, let me try to. All right, so the second house is called the token house, where there are delegates to the system, and these guys are entitled with the power to veto proposal passed by the contributors house, basically. And this is like the somewhat of a defense line, just in case things go sideways. And we've been developing this system to where it makes sense and functional. And in the GitHub and Discord, Giuseppe and I have been discussing stuff and trying to see if the community can come up with some helpful feedback and suggestions to help us complete this system, basically.
So thank you for that. So for no land, here's what I had in mind for how to move forward, and let's see how it differs, and talk about the differences. Right. The no land governance model have been changing, so it's still in flux, and it could really be anything, and what's suggested makes sense too. What if instead of including the GNOT token holders in governance decisions on no land, we create a separation where the token holders don't have a vote except in certain situations? I guess with regards to the token itself, those decisions can definitely include both the members and the GNOT token holders. But what about not having token holders vote on general principles around the hub, right? Such as what the software is, or what the rules are on no land?
Yeah, the idea that we were pursuing was with the token house to basically have just the power to veto, which is a defense mechanism we don't expect to be like used except sparingly. Also because, at least in the initial design, there will be no incentive to participate in governance for GNOT holders, nor disincentives. So they basically participate only if they want to. While the power to execute, which is everything that you're saying, is going to be in the hands of the contributors house, which is tied to, well, I don't know if this is going to be the ultimate model, but we were thinking with the number of GNOSH tokens, or rather there will be GNOSH token holders. Although again, I don't know if that's going to be the ultimate design of GNOland. But in any case, they'll be selected members based on their contributions. They will be responsible for managing the chain with the safeguard of, the token house can only intervene to stop them in case they want it. That's the only thing they can do. They don't have decision power. Except, well, the only thing we envision they should have decision power is changed governance realm parameters themselves, which may entail potentially even banning a member if it's misbehaving. But again, I mean, this is all open to discussion. This is where we were leading, and it's to provide still, in some sense, some safety mechanism for the token holder, but they will not have power to execute. They can make proposals themselves, but not actively vote on them except to stop them.
I'd say understood. I'd say makes sense in some regards. Okay, so I see the token holders as being like this quasi-capital class, right?
Mhm.
Where they've got money, they've got atoms, but they're not experts in virtual machine design. They're not experts in creating. Many of them are, but not the voting class as a whole. I mean, just look at what happened with some of the contentious proposals in the past, and I think it's
Yeah.
pretty clear that like they, as a class, should not have too much power. And veto power is, it's arguably a strong power that, and also this will bring politics into decisions of no land that I think from the top, well, I really want it from the top to give it to core contributors more so than any token system. There's another reason why. I think the token system corrupts. It's the fact that it's a fungible token that you can buy and sell in the market corrupts the nature of the project. And so I think it would be safer to create a membership system and have that membership system, a slow-grown one with tiers well thought out, will do a better job protecting the integrity of the project than anything based on tokens that's fungible. So there was a decision to limit the governance of no land at the top to the members and to focus on creating a membership system that is flexible enough to ensure that the members, core contributors who are aligned in both expertise, understanding, and moral principle all get to become top-level voting members, no matter how many there are. On the other hand, imagine like separating no land from the token GNOT and saying, okay, no land will be governed on the basis by the right people, with some notion of, one member, one vote at the top level, but also hosts tokens. And maybe GNOT is like the only token it ever needs to worry about, it ever offers as a fee token. And it also provides a space, governance space for discussions about the token as a fee token, what to do with its distribution. So for example, we could pose the question, will there be another airdrop to the GNOT token? And decisions regarding that should be based on the decisions of the token holders. But I think it would also benefit from having a fail-stop veto power from perhaps from the members themselves, just to help with the edge cases for security. But ultimately, the GNOT token holders, they really should and can. They can always fork and create their own tokens. So they are by nature. Like the token by itself has sovereignty, just naturally. It's like an inalienable thing, an inalienable power. So there really needs to be, what's missing is who decides what the right decision is for technical consideration. And I think that we need an answer for that doesn't rely on governance from a fee token.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in my mind, that was more tied to the evaluation DAO as named in the Game of Realms, which I kind of see somewhat separate from the governance system, because the governance system, and in some sense also maybe members should be somewhat separate too, because the governance system should be the ultimate judge. Like what I'm seeing is competing solutions that are evaluated concurrently in the evaluation DAO, and then the winning one gets submitted to governance for ultimate approval, instead of like, governance itself being hierarchical, so that whatever gets selected automatically is implemented. But yeah, it's not exactly, I guess, what you are discussing, and that's also why, at least from my perspective, I was also working with Andrew on this bicameral design for governance itself. But yeah, I mean, your points are fair in the sense that, you know, plutarchy enabled by, you hold a lot of tokens, you have a lot of voting power. It's not what we want. Although from our perspective, it was more seen as, token holders have a way to intervene if the contributors weren't acting properly. But I guess you're seeing it from the other way around, which is, these, in our case, the House of Contributors is already like, there shouldn't be, we shouldn't expect to behave maliciously necessarily, right?
Well, if we do it right, yeah, we have an opportunity to create a house representing, well, it would be more like the Senate, maybe, I don't know, or House, whatever. One of them that represents the core contributors, the creators, right? The expert of experts that define this project. And I really do see the tokens. This has been an evolving decision, or an evolving view. But the token, the GNOT token, at the very least, is it represents the users who are not experts in making decisions for the design of no land, and also most definitely includes a large class that
purely financially motivated and still with a lot of power. You get it?
Yeah, and are hostile. Can be hostile to and opposed to what no land wants, as in terms of the creators. So, like, as creators and developers, shouldn't we have our own voice, and our own hub and our own community, where we are sovereign and separated from any economic consideration, but purely based on who we are as people?
Yeah, makes sense.
The goal probably to design something where we don't have one token but many of them, and consider evaluation DAO as one of the external source of measuring an expertise, which is actually the contributor. But we can design something so at the end we can get an external source proving the humanity, proving I don't know, the country of residence for something. So yeah, evaluation DAO should be considered as a trusted source for people that care and understand deeply GNO and can make decisions with that expertise.
And Game of Realms is right, it's going to be the main entry point for members into the deciding body of no land, and therefore to include veto power from tokens there is to introduce a factor into what that who they are and what this membership is. So whereas if we separate the concerns entirely, we can focus on creating a pure membership system. Sorry for repeating myself. But the bicameral system is needed for making decisions about the token. So it's good that there is a bicameral system. Like whatever. Okay, so ideally, the GNOT is the only token that the no land members promote, right? Like ideally, this is the only token that, or in other words, the less tokens, the better from the perspective of complexity and whatnot. Also, we don't need more than one fee token if we get the first fee token right. But anyways, my point is, we can still guarantee that the GNOT token is governed by itself. But still, it would be good for while the token is hosted on no land. So I guess we can do two things. Like make a guarantee that the GNOT token could migrate to another hub if it wanted to. And what no land does in general is provide a platform for token systems to govern themselves. And while they're hosted on no land, they can have, I guess, the option for the no land token holders to also be part of a bicameral system for making decisions for safety reasons. Say. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me that, we scope out the need for the bicameral system to solely decisions that directly impact the token. I guess the way kind of this proposal get categorized is a problem in and of itself, because someone has to honestly tag them as such to trigger, trigger the need for the bicameral system to kick in, while for other proposals we avoid it. I mean, I do see it somewhat challenging, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, in any case, yeah, I guess also determining how contributors become members of the governance, what we call the House of Contributors in our bicameral design, but nonetheless the main governance body, let's say, is somewhat of another challenge, right? Which we also need to address, because again, in our initial thinking, we were simply going to assume that there is already a way to attribute Gnosh token, and again, it's not, as you know, we're assuming that it's going to be somewhat of the way it's done, but it doesn't know. It can be changed. But again, I guess also what we need to figure out is how do we do that, right? Which will ultimately create this, group of contributors. I don't know if there are thoughts around that. I was also curious to know, because we didn't really think about it, or if Andrew want to say something about it. I don't know.
So, just discussing the House of Contributors design. Right? What does that membership look like?
Yeah, because again, so we were somewhat tying it with at least what was our understanding of the proof of contribution system on Gnoland, and we were assuming that people were gonna be rewarded with Gnosh, right? Which is this non-transferable token, and that would kind of entitle you to access the governance body, right? And participate in governance. But again, all of this is kind of like, once we have that system in place, then we can do this. But I don't know, I don't even know if that part of how do we get there was addressed or should be addressed in Game of Realms. I guess with the evaluation DAO maybe, right? Or some sort of system like that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a good question. So let's talk about some of the questions here, because there's a lot just in my head. Okay, so one is the notion that through Game of Realms we're gonna have a class. I guess it's like onboarding a class of members. But I don't think all the members are necessarily the same. We could have a completely flat membership system, but then we might feel like there's a need to limit, how many members are, brought in through Game of Realms, right? It would be better, I think, from the perspective of engagement and also just in general, to distinguish levels of membership so that at the bottom tier, there are new recruits and it's, they're expected to prove themselves over time. And that at the very top are equal peers who satisfy all the conditions and therefore are meant to be, could be legitimately called peers from both a technical and human perspective.
Right.
Right. Okay, so there's another point is that from the technical perspective, we might consider splitting the scope of like what top level members are expected to understand, to describe it in detail and formalize it. Example, maybe they have to know enough. We can split the stack into consensus, virtual machine, or language, and the smart contract DApp ecosystem. And I'm just throwing something out there. Maybe we can say you have to be a deep expert in one, and understand enough of the other two. And each one can be split into further categories. And to be an expert in one, maybe you have to understand, 2/3 or 100% of all, say, the modules in Tendermint 2, for example. I don't know, but there's some rule and some way to quantify technical expertise, and a membership system should include that somehow.
I was gonna comment that it's hard to quantify. So basically, the way we were thinking, and again, I mean, I invite Andrew also to chime in if he wants to specify anything, be specific about anything. Is like so we had a kind of a fixed number of seats in the, again, what we call the contributors house, but then we assume that people get rewarded in Gnosh for their contribution on Gnoland, regardless of what are the contributions. But in some sense, this create like a system, where the top level Gnosh holders, get access to the governance body, and this automatically creates like a system where people that made a lot of contributions, they become part of the governance body, and these people are one member, one vote. But again, like, this is where we were going, and it somewhat mirrors what you're describing is more specific, although again hard to quantify, because you would need categorization and people that evaluates competencies on these specific categories. But yeah,
well, I think we can say that it's possible to quantify it. It just takes a lot of work, but we can quantify. Yeah, it's difficult to create the system, but I think it's just a matter of, I guess, fleshing it out, and then and there's a lot of design choice and freedom here too. So, but
of course, yeah.
One comment was about the fixed number of seats. What if instead of having any fixed number of seats, we just focus on the criteria, and then otherwise try to bring as many members as possible and make the system work despite large number of people in a certain tiered membership. For example, like the top level members, the criteria should be such that, like, they're experts enough that we want everyone who meets those criteria to be part of the member set. So this could be 300 people, it could be 300,000. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's it would be, instead of a fixed number of seats, sort of if you have a threshold tier, let's say, membership, then you can you have your voting governance. So it's not fixed in number of seats, but rather in minimum level of competence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe there's 3 or 7 levels of membership, and then the highest level, say number 7, has like so much votes, but level, number 2 or number 6 would can only have up to some percent of the layer above it. Right? So no matter how many people are in level 6 or 7, it's like there's some limitation to what ultimately can be done. So this way, even if there aren't that many people in level 7, say, the system, the working DAO, can still onboard many people in the initial recruit membership level tier. I don't know, just throwing an idea out there, but seems like we need some, yeah. Yeah, it's like this weird problem space of allowing members in, but still maintaining like some sort of like continuous vision and direction.
Yeah, it should like be in some sense still permissionless, but incentives should be extremely aligned automatically, kind of, right? And so it should be like a group of people that and follow a common vision and doesn't deviate. Yeah, but it's somewhat hard to achieve. But I mean, that's what we're trying to do in any case. Yeah, I mean, I guess the problem is in understanding again the initial part better. Maybe like how do we determine these tiers, and how do, I guess if I'm seeing it correctly, it's kind of a pre-step to also whatever we do with governance. Even though, again, I mean, I think a lot of the ideas we were discussing in the issue that is also shared in the comments, I think it's still worth considering. But nonetheless, I guess, yeah. Did you guys have thought of anything about this specific, any detail that, again, I'm talking about the how do we quantify, and I don't know, I know we already said the system is not in place, but any thought here might be cool. Sorry about this noises.
Can you clarify what we're?
Yes, again, like so we are saying that the governance will be a tiered system, right? And I guess once we figure out how do we quantify these tiers in a more systematic way, the problem I'm sorry about these noises. The problem becomes a little less hard to tackle. So I guess maybe would be interesting in trying to give more thought about this initial step of determining the tiers themselves. If it's like something that, because I also see in some sense would be cool to envision some sort of automation so that it's not too tied to necessarily or at least the possibility of having conflict of interest or stuff that humans do play less of a role in this way of determining the tiers.
Okay. Well,
because
I think
one last thing I'm gonna give like what if the system become oxidated in the sense that people start to create what, for example, happens in a university in some countries where professors don't want new competition to be brought in the circle, and so they basically I was thinking also that is sort of a problem that can create itself here.
Okay. Right. Okay. So I'll share some further thoughts, just to throw it out there so we have a better understanding of what choices we have in membership tier systems. Imagine there's 3 tiers, 1, 2, and 3, with the highest being number 3. Then, as we get, let's say we get a lot of contributors through Game of Realms, and they enter level 1, and then it becomes like this really political question of what level 2 is, because people will focus too much on like trying to get into level 2, and I feel like there's less space to try things. Okay, compared to having 7, let's say, just to throw a number out there, 7 is a prime number. Then in level number 1 is the highest, level 7 is the lowest one. We can have like 0 members for level 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and have some number, level 7, say, just to demonstrate it working. And through Game of Realms, everyone enters through level 1, say, and this doesn't have to be true. I'm just saying, let's just show an example. Okay. We could have the voting system we can define like a general voting system that works across the levels in this way. Imagine if you say that the voting is like what layer tier 1 or tier 7 is the highest. So tier 7 is like has 100%. Well, that tier 7 has, say, 50% of voting power, and then everyone else gets 50%. Level number 6 says their voting power, or actually, no, let's define it recursively. So level 7, the highest level, the members there have like 50%, say, or like 51%, whatever, or 50%, and the rest is level 6. The level 6 voting power is the members of level 6 plus they get 50%, and 50% are the levels below. And so there's this exponential tapering scheme. And it's a general rule, so it's kind of easy to understand. And so in the very beginning, people enter through level 1. There's no one in level 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So level 1, no matter how many people there are, they get 50% of the vote because that's the rule, right, at the very top. That level 7 gets only 50% of votes. The rest goes to all the other layers. Okay, so it's flexible and scalable. And then we get the chance to define what level 6 is. And we can try something, right? We can try to figure out what the best way to distinguish level 7 versus level 6 is. And even if we get it wrong, the point is we have another chance to try it for level number 5. And like as we figure out what is important, we can keep adding it to the list, right? And kind of experiment as we go along, and eventually we'll have a tier system that I think will make sense.
And so in this design, which I like at least the way voting power is determined, that seems to be very scalable to me too. Who is in charge of electing people across the hierarchy? Is like higher level members that basically promote the others, or I guess that's another thing.
Maybe just to throw it out there, maybe we populate, maybe based on Game of Realms, we can kind of identify level 7 and level 6. And like level 6 are the ones who help us figure out like who should be in level 7, because we're gonna find that's I guess the point of phase 1 of Game of Realms, right? Or the tool itself, the DAO itself. So and then I guess my point is we'll have level. I'm sorry, I'm getting numbers wrong. What I meant to say was level 1, level 2. I think it's kind of confusing because depending on the number of levels, right? Like, so what I meant to say was, my point is that the Game of Realms could bring in 2 levels. General members who made significant contributions and are promising, and also members that we know like understand the concepts, the core concepts of the GNOME VM and how to program in Nolang. Right, so we should come up with criteria. Yeah, so in other words, okay, let's imagine 7 levels. And level 1 is like people who made good contributions to Game of Realms. Level 2 are not just contributors, but contributors that demonstrated competency and understanding of the nuances of Nolang programming, so that they can help us figure out who else we should add to level 1, right? And then we can figure out what level 3 means, like, as we go, I suppose. I don't know, just throw it out there. Something along these lines.
Okay, so it is a system where the higher level, in some sense, decide also inclusion in the circle of, in the lower level tiers, and even inclusion of a new peer. Because I'm also thinking like, how does this system work once the network is live? Is it like fixed, or can it, evolve? And so I was thinking also about that.
Yeah. Well, I guess it makes sense for level 1 and 2 to to figure out as much as they can by themselves, and then maybe there can be like intervention from a higher level if it's thought to be needed. So ideally, a lot of the levels kind of build out from the bottom up, but so I don't know if okay, so it sounds like level 2 will require like level 7 to interject for level 7 to kind of say, okay, we're going to throw this person from level 1 to level 2. We're going to upgrade this person's membership, right? It's kind of like an intervention from the top. And maybe that's how it is. Like maybe how it works is level 2 requires intervention from at least level 3 and up. But it could be that another membership can be self-selecting.
Mhm. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, in general, to me, makes sense that any level is self-selecting, but can also influence lower levels. If we want to make this tier system like, because it's a quantification of the level of competence, so it seems to me that, the higher the level, you can, if you're level 7, you can promote people from level 1 to 2, up to 6, but you can also promote people, to level 7 itself. And this goes for every level.
Well, maybe. I guess there's a question of, should there be a level where self-selection is not yet it's not yet an expected competency. I can imagine that. Okay, here's why would this be the case?
I suggest we just let each level decide who can join this level and an upper level can bypass this, then first level is the special one because anyone can join just by making contribution. And probably level 2 will be the easiest to get promoted. And most of the time we won't prevent level 2 DAO to add new members. But the more you are going high, the more we expect the level to be restricted, to look deeply about to consider it a lot if it makes sense. So basically, we consider that each level is like a new wall, a new constraint, and we can be very flexible for the bottom levels. On my side, I prefer to let level 2 to be autonomous and start being restricting from level 3. But maybe what I will use in terms of voting option is about vetoing or blacklisting someone. But I don't care that much about election of new level 2 members. I think I will be more regarding from level 3. If level 1 is automatic, then level 2 should be the first layer of getting enough sponsors, having enough people accepting you as so you're not only a contributor that maybe tricked the system by making a basic contribution.
We are actually at time. We're past the hour for the office hour. It's been a great discussion, and I think it would be great to continue with this format and to have other contributors to join in next time, to ask questions, to have discussions. We're going to keep these going regularly, and we'll be announcing the next one soon.
Well, can we continue with this? It's even I might have to go, but it's really interesting, and I wish we can even document some of the points raised here. One thing I just learned is, if we're gonna have automatic membership, self-selected membership, probably we need one at the bottom level. So level 7, level 1 to level 2 should be automatic, right? And then we'll learn things we want to fix, and that can perhaps be between level 2 and 3. But I don't know. I suppose I need to get going. Thank you all, and I hope if possible, maybe we can continue to call. I think we should all be having these kinds of discussions among ourselves frequently. So, thank you all for coming. Can we continue this conversation without Manfred? Can you continue on, or do you need to get going?
I can.
Okay. All right. Thank you all, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. If there is more time that if you would like to discuss, we can continue. However, I think we could also plan a next session very soon and announce it on Discord.
Yeah, let's plan the next session. And so this discussion was recorded, and it would be nice that someone can transcript it to happen the discussion or important points on GitHub. And it would be a contribution counted for phase 1.
Thank you,
and
Manfred.
I suggest you, Giuseppe and Andrew, to also look at Evaluation DAO, because it's more linked to governance modules than it can look like from the external point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to go back to the drawing board based on this discussion. I don't know what Andrew thinks, but looks like that's the case. I mean, still the bicameral system makes sense for more specific proposal, but we need to figure out the contributor house and how it works better, which is tied to the evaluation DAO in some sense.
Yeah, I think a lot of the points discussed made sense, and let me try to fix the issue and try to reflect what we've discussed in this session, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Cool to me. Yeah, let's continue the discussion on GitHub.
Yeah, sure. And
just I wanted to share a last thing, but not sure to remember. Yeah, I suggest, probably maybe I'm wrong, but I think we should make governance module being independent from evaluation DAO in terms of a modular governance module that can act for anything. So in that case, I suggest that we go with multi-token approach, where each token can be a measure of the expertise or involvement or risk or whatever to measure the voting power of someone. So basically making governance module supporting multiple tokens. But then there is another question specifically for Gnoland, which is unique thanks to proof of contribution and evaluation DAO, where we can have unique voters with same voting power, with tiered or not. So yeah, just a suggestion for both of you when you design the governance module. Maybe we can make it modular to support any worst case, and then make a use case for Gnoland with maybe only one token, which could be the tiered membership token, like an NFT.
No, for sure. But I mean, as long as we use interfaces, it's up to the implementation, right? But
yeah.
Still, like some points that were touched, like the fact that voting power itself is tied to the tier, which is and the fact that it's like 50%. Plus, how it goes to lower levels. I think that's kind of part of the governance system. And
For me, I agree. We need an interface to say, depending on this token, here we have an exponential method with 7 levels. Here we have just a token. Here we have a quadratic approach, or I don't know. Clearly, it should be an interface, but make sure that you don't make the system just for a unique token, because it will probably be the case for GNU. But we also need to make this use case optimized for GNU, thanks to contribution.
Independent from tokens, right? Independent from tokens. Again, as long as we use interfaces, we can still have the tiered system, and then because we don't, it's not even clear if there is going to be tokens for determining the tiers, or is can be even NFTs, so non-fungible tokens. We don't know yet.
For just an exception here is, I think we will always have some kind of tokens, which can be NFTs or fungible tokens. But what I suggest is to make your system supporting multiple tokens for one reason, because governance at some point will need to be liquid. It can be because some votes are only for population, so the users or the contributors or the investors. But if we make governance a liquid democracy, liquid governance modules, probably at some point we will not only delegate everything, but we will delegate for not holding related votes to someone or contributor tier membership to someone else. And if we scale this to a use case which is a humanity, you can consider that later I don't want to delegate everything to a validator. I want to delegate my ecological votes to my ecological friend, my education votes to my mother, my local votes to my mayor. So I think a great system would support multiple tokens, And in the case of GNU, we will probably make something simple with only one unique token, thanks to the uniqueness of having a proof of contribution system in place. But yeah, for me, interface is great, but interface should support multiple tokens. Maybe it should support non-token stuff. It can be something else, NFT or whatever. But it's important for me to make a governance module that won't be limited to one implementation, to one source of voting power computation. Basically, each vote could have its interface. That's not a voting power for the whole governance module, but depending on the vote, it would be nice to say, this is a vote for validators. This is a vote for users. This is a vote for stakers. This is a vote for contributors. Because here we can have something that makes sense. I prefer to ask validators what they want for the validators. I prefer to ask the users question for more people. So that, just make sure in your design that your proposal won't be limited to one unique source. Even if it's an interface, it should be an interface supporting multiple inputs. Does it make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Great. And thank you very much for your work on GitHub. That's an example I often use to show that contribution is not limited to developers, and that we're building stuff for the future. So all the work, all the paths is educational content, and we should document the thinking. We should document the failures. We expect to make the best choice and to choose a successful implementation. But even the failures and discussion are really interesting. And we owe this for the future to document the past and explain why we make decisions and why we change our mind. And why we build stuff actually. I'm happy that Jake has expressed the reasons why he wants a governance module. It takes part of the exercise. We build stuff for reasons, and now we try to make the best implementation. So thank you very much, you, and also QX2 UNT. Thank you very much for your contribution on GitHub. Anyone has a question? Great. I will disconnect.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.